Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Seahawk Talk here on the Salve Athletics Network. I'm your host, Andrew Pizzelli, thank you for finding us here this afternoon. We're live every day, 3 to 4 p.m. on Facebook Live, on YouTube, and Periscope. Through Twitter, we have a great show for you here lined up today. We will have Rob McGuinness, Jen Foster, Jane Walsh, and then some men's soccer alumni, Owen Kraft, Evan MacDonald, and Noah Medeiros to round out the program here on Wednesday, October 7th. We're going to have our producers as well, Joey Morelli and Mike DeFusco. But before we get them, we want to remind you to keep your distance. That is the Shake with Keep Your Distance. Ed Habershaw giving us his rendition. And we're going to bring in the producers now, Joey Morelli and Mike DeFusco. Gentlemen, how are we?
Very good. Cut off there for a second, I thought.
Michael, I want to say, I was kind of expecting you. It's a bit blustery out there today. I figured maybe we'd be on location getting your assessment of the weather, but I guess we're getting you from your room. But can you give us an update here on the high winds?
The weather? Actually, yeah, I was looking at a high wind warning when I was looking through Twitter before the show. So outside my room right now, we see some clouds, but also some specks of light starting to come through. So I'm not too worried about it. Yeah, no location today though. I actually have an interview with Coach Hughes after this, so I wanted to stay, get ready for that beforehand. So I'm also looking forward to that after this show.
Cool. What do you guys have to lead off today's program?
If Joey doesn't mind me going first, I just wanted to share a quick little thing about some interesting stuff some student athletes are starting to do at the high school level here in Newport County. A couple kids from Middletown and one from Portsmouth are now starting to switch from football to soccer, with now there being no football, obviously. So some other sports are going to start to get some pretty good athletes filtered in from sports that are canceled. So interesting to see. Surprised I didn't hear anything sooner about this. And now, I'd probably do the same thing if I were in their shoes. So just, glad to hear these kids are still finding a way to stay active.
Yeah, I'm honestly surprised we haven't heard more of that. Kids just wanting to be competing. I wonder, though, we'll definitely probably see. You got football players, American football, going to play soccer. I think you're going to see an increase in yellow and red cards.
Yeah.
Two totally different games from a physicality standpoint. It would be interesting to get Coach O'Rourke. And we have Jane Walsh on today as well, our head women's soccer coach. Her thoughts on if any, I guess there'd be no football players. We don't have any female football players at Salve. But if there are any female football players that happen, there's plenty around the high school circuit now. So if any female football players wanted to come and play soccer, the learning curve there, I wonder what that must be like, going from being able to kind of just do whatever you want and be physical to, okay, no hands, just with the feet.
Yeah.
You're gonna see probably quite an adjustment.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you're gonna see great athletes running around, just not much of an idea of what exactly to do with their strategy involved, but they'll learn. They're smart, they'll pick it up quick, I'm sure.
Yeah. Mike, if you're a baseball player, if you didn't have baseball to play, is there a second sport that you would turn to?
I always really did. I love basketball. I never played anything beyond just recreational league, but it was honestly probably more fun at times, more fun than baseball for me, just to get a taste of a different sport. So if I were to not play baseball, I definitely think would have tried basketball out more.
Cool. Joey, what do you have for us here at the top of the show?
All right. Yeah. So I'm sure a lot of people have seen. I don't know how to describe where the area is, but there's that part of Newport that's always under construction, and I'm sure you've seen those signs that say we need a parade about the St. Patrick's Day parade, and I didn't know what that was for a really long time. And today I just saw a post. So it's actually a special outdoor photography exhibit celebrating the 60th anniversary of Newport St. Patrick's Day Parade, which it says it's going to run until October 12th. on Spring and Toro Street, like at the intersection, which I guess is where the town's original spring was, which is kind of cool. It is 100, more than 100 photographs by E.A. Kahane. I don't know that name, but I guess that's a relatively well-known person in Newport. It opens Thursday and ends on the next Monday, and it's open from 1 to 5 p.m. It's totally free. It's all outside, and it's just pictures of the 2016 St. Patrick's Day Parade, which I guess was the 60th anniversary, I would have to assume. And you can also buy pictures and other stuff there, and all the funds go to the Newport Historic Spring Park Project, which is trying to make a public park in that area because of like its historic significance, which is pretty cool.
Cool, that's cool. Yeah, that whole area has been like under a weird construction for like the last 3 years, and I've never known like what's supposed. There used to be a gas station there, and it's like what is going here? What is going to happen here? That's good to know.
Yeah, I don't know if it is right there, if like that's where it is, but that's where I've seen the signs. Like I'm not sure where Toro and Spring meet up. Like I can't think of it off the top of my head, but I'm sure it's not that hard to find. It's like more than 100 pictures, and it's outside. You'll probably find it. And it seems really cool. I'll probably go check it out this weekend.
Cool. We here on Seahawk Talk, we're not ones to ignore history or things of historical significance. Mike, I think if you still have that picture of a certain scoreboard, we might go ahead and pull that up. So 104 years ago today, this was the highest scoring college football game the highest scoring football game, period, I imagine. I don't know if any high school record has ever shattered this or come close. Georgia Tech defeats Cumberland 222-0. The story behind this game is fascinating. There's a great video by John Boyce of SB Nation. I'll tweet it out later because I've been wanting to say something about this game. It's a great feature that delves into the stats, all of the stories, the written accounts of this game. It's like 18 minutes long, but it's a great watch. It's really funny. He's an awesome writer and kind of a comedian for SB Nation, so it's worth the watch. But it's very informative. The stories about the players and everything, and just to give a brief background, the way this happens is when you have a team of elite level Division I football players playing basically lawyers and accountants, students, and generally just people they pulled off the street, because Cumberland had played Georgia Tech in baseball the previous spring, and they brought in ringers, they brought in professional players to play, and it was embarrassing for Georgia Tech's program and their head coach, John Heisman, of Heisman fame, the John Heisman, like the architect of football. And he was also their football coach, and he had arranged for them to play football against Cumberland that fall. Well, their football program got cut in the spring, and he said, I don't care. We're playing football against you guys in the fall. And they didn't want to do it. They didn't want to have it happen. They said, no, you're going to play or we're fining you $5,000. So Cumberland said, well, we'll field a team. We'll find people to play. And so they just pulled any old people off campus, and they just said, who knew nothing about the game of football, nothing how to play football, were not equipped or trained to play football. And granted, this is in 1916. So the rules about physicality and what you can and can't do, basically anything went in those days. And that's how you get 222-0. Cumberland at halftime asked if they could shorten the length of the second half, and John Heisman agreed that they would shorten it by like 5 minutes.
Some civility right there.
His pound of flesh. It's a bonkers story. Even if you're not a football fan or a sports fan, you don't know too much. Just as a story, this whole thing is unbelievable to go watch and to learn about.
Oh, definitely. I'm going to be checking that out later. I can't believe, like I said in the pre-show, this has to be made into a movie of some sort, drama, comedy. I don't care what you do with it, but I think this, as it is, this being a true story is a great, definitely would make a great movie. A lot of money too.
Yeah, and some of the, it has to be seen and heard to be believed. Some of the things that happened.
Yeah.
In this game. I know I told you
Kinda
guys about some of
wild.
them. I won't give away, I won't give away everything. So definitely want to go look up the 222-0 game. And its anniversary is today. Well, anyways, fellas, we're going to get moving here. I'm going to let you guys get back behind the scenes, diligently at work, and we'll talk to you again at the end of the show.
All right. See you at the end.
All right, that's Joey Morelli and Mike DeFusco. We're going to go now to our first guest here today on Wednesday. That is Rob McGuinness, the head coach of our men's and women's cross-country teams. Rob, how are you?
I'm all right, Andrew. How are you?
Good. Is there an equivalent in cross-country to 222-0? Would that be if you took a college team and made them run against, like, preschoolers?
Even if you did that, you wouldn't wind up with a score better than 15 for the winning team. 15 is a perfect score in cross country.
How's practice going? You guys are, basically been in the swing of things now for a little over 2 weeks. So just kind of give us an update on how things are going and how you're feeling about the way the team is handling the phasing and all that sort of stuff.
It's going pretty well. This is the start of week 3, as you mentioned, and I'm really proud of the way my athletes are adapting to the requirements and the limitations that we have to work under these days. Everyone's been great about wearing masks during practice. That's been one of the rules, and it doesn't make things any easier to be doing up-tempo running with a face mask on the entire time, but they're doing it, they're making it happen, and they're not complaining about it, which is a credit to them. So compliance has been good. We've been figuring out how to keep ourselves appropriately distanced out on the roads, which is a challenge sometimes when you're also trying not to get run over. But we're doing well in terms of the environment that we're in. In terms of the quality of the workouts so far, I have been gradually reintroducing some of the more challenging workouts that we do. We've been doing a lot of hills, and those are mostly drills and plyometrics at this point, but we're wrapping up some of the hill segments this week. We've been working in some speed play and some workouts that are just fun to do with the group. But generally, morale is very high. I think the athletes, first and foremost, are happy to be training with their teammates once again. And I know there's a lot of smiles underneath those face masks, even though I can't see them. So spirits are high. Quality of the workout's very good. I'm very happy with the level of effort so far. The newcomers are a welcome addition to the team. We have a big freshman class this year. And it's really too bad that this team won't actually race for real this fall, because on paper, it's probably one of the better teams that we've had in a long time. But we've got some time trials coming up, and that will give us at least an assessment as to where we stand. And I'm excited to see what we'll do when we finally get back over to Brenton Point. So far, so good. I'm interested to see what we'll do next.
Yeah. We can already start to feel it. It's very windy here today. The seasons are changing. Your sport can compete in a number of different elements and conditions. How does the weather affect the training? And then cross country might not be a sport where you think about equipment, because it's basically like, oh, you're the equipment, you run. But how does the weather and those conditions affect maybe the type of shoe you wear, or maybe the type of clothing you'll wear, or maybe even your running style? How does the weather affect all of those things?
The weather can be a significant factor in a championship race. We've seen some CCC meets over the last few years where we've had all manner of gale force winds and rain, and there was snow one year back in 2011. And all those things have an effect on course conditions and on some of the mental preparation for the race. Of course, we can't control the weather, and that's not one of those things that you really want to get wrapped up around when you're mentally preparing yourself for the race. Everybody's got to run the same course. Everybody has to deal with the same weather. In terms of some of the adjustments that we might make for a rainy day or a snowy day, we can change the length of our cross-country spikes. I mean, typically you might have a 1/4 inch spike in your racing shoes, maybe a 3/8 of an inch. If we're someplace where it's really sloppy or maybe potentially even frozen, we could go all the way up to a 1/2 inch spike or even longer. We've got a number of those in the kit that we carry to our meets. And every once in a while, we'll break out the really long spikes. If I had my spike box with me, I'd show you, because the really long ones are daggers. But yeah, it affects your running style as well, Andrew. You're absolutely right. If you're on a fairly technical course in the woods with a lot of rocks and roots, you're going to run a little more tentatively. You're going to have to slow down. You're not necessarily going to trust your footing if you can't see where you're stepping. I remember one meet a few years back where it rained very heavily. The trees dropped a lot of leaves, and it was on a technical trail. And everyone on that segment of the trail had a hard time just keeping their footing, because you didn't quite know what the next step was going to bring. So it definitely affects performance. Certainly, we can race in virtually any condition, but oftentimes you'll see slower times. You might see a higher risk of injury depending on what's up on the course. We've been fortunate in that area, but it definitely has an effect. And I'm curious to see what the wind holds for us today, because I'm beginning to wonder if I'm going to regret my hill workout. But I guess we'll find out in about an
hour. What about racing on the road? Say it's in wet conditions. Do you have different shoes depending on the condition of the road, or is it just one of those things you're judicious where you just have to pick your spot and say, all right, I trust my footing here. It's a little drier more than other spots, or is there adjustments there as well with your equipment?
There can be an adjustment on the roads. Some of my athletes, when they race roads, like to wear an ultralight sneaker. And those are kind of a minimalist shoe, not much padding, not much of anything to them. And those might be the shoe of choice on optimal road conditions. If it's raining, if it's snowing, I'm apt to go with just my regular trainers and to be very, very careful. Just a little bit of moisture on the pavement could cause you to wipe out in a turn. You've got to watch it. And then, of course, if you're racing on open roads, you have to watch for traffic and everything else. But weather definitely affects our sport in many, many ways. And the roads, there are a lot fewer things we can do to adjust in terms of equipment. We wouldn't wear spikes on the roads, but you might wear something a bit sturdier, maybe more of a trainer versus a racer, just to give yourself a bit more stability and to have a little more confidence in each one of those steps.
What's the most extreme conditions you've ever raced in, and then also ever coached in?
Most extreme conditions that I have raced in are, without a doubt, the 2018 Boston Marathon. That is as cold as I have ever been. It was only about 38 degrees at the start, torrential rains. It was drenching. It was just something that I'd never experienced before. And I've run cross-country races and road races in snow and all kinds of other things, but just being out for that length of time was a unique experience, and one that has changed my tolerance for running in the rain, for sure. In terms of the most extreme conditions that I've coached in, I mentioned it before, we had gale force winds for a conference championship meet. The last time it was up at Gordon College. We had all kinds of warnings coming in from the National Weather Service, and we ran anyway. And a few years before that, actually my first year that I was a head coach, we were at Gordon that year too. Torrential rains to the point where all the course markings had washed away and everything was muddy and wet and covered in leaves. And I was seriously concerned about our ability to safely run on that course, because it was just dreadful that day. But we ran and we did what we could do, and we placed a few people on the all-conference team and made the most of the situation. If there's one thing about cross-country runners, they are adaptable and they are resilient, and a little rain won't slow us down that much.
Postal Service rules: nor sleet, nor snow, nor rain, nor wind.
You got it.
You mentioned about running in the rain and in the cold. Now, if you're somebody who's like an outdoors person, you go hiking and stuff, or being outside, it's all about layers, right? You start off with your layers, and as you warm up, you peel layers off. You can't really do that when you're running a race. You don't have time to stop and take off a layer. You just have to try and warm up as quickly as possible, right, in that race?
Right. If you're in a road racing situation, I mean, you could try to go with layers. You could wear something to the line that you might drop at the start or just take off and throw away. For our athletes on the cross-country side, though, we've got NCAA uniform rules to follow. So when it gets really cold, we can typically wear a base layer as long as they're all the same color and there's no conflicting patterns or anything like that. And we will do that, but it's very hard to shed anything once you're out there. So best advice is to dress as warmly as you can tolerate, and then, you're going to sweat. Better that than being just freezing cold. We've seen that many times in the regional meet, because we've been up to Maine in the middle of November and the temperature would drop 20 degrees overnight, and what we thought was going to be a nice day, we'd be out in long sleeves and hats and gloves, and every single piece of additional layer that we could add to our uniforms before we started that run.
Last thing, Rob, I know you're a big music guy. Your thoughts on the passing of Eddie Van Halen?
Really sad news. I actually wasn't aware that Eddie Van Halen had been ill, and I guess it was cancer, right?
Yeah.
Really, really talented musician, incredible guitar work. Certainly made his mark on classic rock. His songs are a staple of classic rock radio, and he's someone who'll be missed for sure. Yeah, that's another loss for 2020. Eddie Van
Yeah.
Halen.
I think what's cool about him, and what's always amazing about certain artists, is how they can pick up an instrument that everybody else has. It's the same instrument, yet they can create a sound that is uniquely theirs, that is recognizable. Without them, you don't hear a voice. It's just the music itself. And,
Right.
and he, for sure, as a guitarist, had such a unique and recognizable sound.
He did. I was reading an interview earlier where he said that Eric Clapton was the only guitarist who had ever influenced him. And then once Clapton was sort of beyond his Cream years, Eddie Van Halen took what he'd learned and then made it sound that was all his own. And all the Van Halen albums will bear that out. It's a unique and easily identifiable guitar tone and guitar sound.
Awesome. Well, Rob, good luck out today in practice in the wind.
Yes.
Maybe an extra layer.
Maybe. We'll do our best.
Thanks so much for joining us here today, and we look forward to talking to you again next week.
Thanks, Andrew. See you next week.
All right. That's Rob McGuinness, the head coach of our men's and women's cross-country team. We're going to go now to the head coach of our field hockey team, Jen Foster. Jen, welcome to the show. Oh, Jen, you got bit by the mute bug. It's all good. We
Got
all
it.
do
Can
it.
you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Great.
We're all guilty of it. It happens to the best of us. How has the fall gone so far? So far. Practicing, the phasing, all of that, the adjustments from the coaching standpoint. How has it gone for you and your team?
It's gone really well so far. We just entered into phase 2 last night. So first phase, we were not allowed any contact. So it was a lot of basic skill work, obviously some conditioning in with that, but the girls came, ready to go. We really broke it down. We had them in 3 pods and did a lot of station work. So they got a lot of reps, a lot of dribbling, stick handling, passing, a lot of shooting. Our goalies faced a lot of shots during those first 2 weeks. And then last night we were able to start working in some 1v1 for a small portion of practice. I know the girls were really excited to, play some defense, be a little competitive with that. I think that's been the trickiest thing of everything, is just having it be competitive. When you're doing a lot of basic drills and not actually, getting to play, even 3v3 or something like that. But, I've been really impressed with the energy. Our upperclassmen have really stepped up. We have 10 freshmen. So this is a tryout phase right now for us all the way through the end of October. So along with adjusting to the phases, we've also been, adjusting 10 new players to our program and what our expectations are. The upperclassmen have really stepped up and helped lead that. And, even within the pods, show them how we do things and, how we want our practice to be run and what we want to get out of it.
Yeah. You talked about the practicing the passing there. Obviously, social distancing helps to bring that to the forefront, because you got to stay away, so I have to pass you the ball. Passing in that transition element is such an important part of your game. The elite teams can get that ball down the field fast and connected and not turn it over. Does it benefit you to have maybe this time to focus on those sorts of things, or maybe in a normal season, you'd already be playing games. You don't have the time to just really dial in and maybe spend multiple practices working on those sorts of fundamental things?
Yeah, we're able to break things down. Passing is fundamental for our sport. The first touch and making good passing combinations. So we had a lot of drills that worked in passing combinations. Our cutting 2, receiving it on a tight first touch. So yeah, it's allowed us more time to have 2 hours of practice to just work on your basics and your passing and everything. It's really allowed, as a coach, we had to be creative at times, because I was like 2 hours of this, but it actually went by really fast. And I'm hoping we're stronger for it and, be able to incrementally build off of that as we go through each phase. I think it's a valuable time for our players. We may not be going right to a competition, having games this week, but we want to look for that improvement each day and each practice and keep building off of that. So we'll be stronger for it when we can get on a game field.
You talked about being creative. What have been any resources for you as far as getting those ideas or coming up with practice plans, whether it be people you've talked to or websites or things like that, to try and come up with these creative solutions?
It started over the summer on Instagram a lot. We saw some club teams. The Cape Cod Field Hockey Club is one that we really tapped into. She had a lot of great drills, but a lot of different field hockey Instagram accounts that we've looked at. And I just was jotting them down over the summer, figuring that if we had to be in pods or had to do more individual based stuff, this would be good. So, there's drills that work great when you just have a few bodies in it. So we wrote those down, and then we're creative with them and putting them into play. A lot of stations work, as I said. We take a pod of 10 and split them into 5 and 5. So maybe getting a lot more reps, which also allows for conditioning within field hockey. I'm definitely a coach that doesn't want to just watch players run all of practice. I want it to be field hockey running. So I think having these reps and stations really allowed us to build up some conditioning while playing it at the same time.
Tell me about what the 100-mile challenge is and
Yes.
everything about that.
About a week ago, Greg Kay, the commissioner of the CCC, contacted all the head CCC field hockey coaches asking if we would want to be a part of the Atlantic East Conference and Wellesley College's 100-mile pledge. Wellesley College had a senior field hockey player diagnosed with stage 2 breast cancer earlier in the year. She found it after doing a self-exam, found a lump, and was diagnosed. So the whole point of this pledge is obviously 100 miles. We're looking for each player to do 100 miles over the month of October, but more importantly, raise awareness to, breast cancer, and that it can really affect anyone, even as someone as young as in the college years, when you think you're in the best, health and you're an athlete and everything. So I think it brings some great awareness that everyone can be affected. I'm sure we all know someone that's been affected by either breast cancer or cancer in general. So what we're hoping to do as a conference is help Wellesley College and their program, their player Alexis, raise awareness, but also, encourage our fans, our alums, everyone to, reach out and, make donations to like the National Breast Cancer Foundation, or learn about self-exams and what you can do to protect yourself. So we had 2 of our players sit on a CCC Zoom the other day with other student athletes, Tori Bickle and Kristen Wales. Went on the CCC call with our commissioner and some of the other student athletes and brainstormed, what can our conference do? And they came up with some ideas of, getting t-shirts made that say Lex Strong, and we're going to pick a practice that will be kind of our pink practice. Usually we have a game that's catered to a cause like this, but we'll do a practice instead and just raise awareness. And I know the girls are having a lot of fun putting the mileage in every week. I actually got a little pedometer to follow what my mileage is over the course of the day. I'm actually amazed by how much I move around, especially chasing 3 kids at home and then going to practice. So
that certainly helps.
Yes, the kids add up the mileage pretty quick, but even at practices, just walking around coaching. And so, it's a whole month cause, and I'm hoping from it, we can help, encourage this player, Alexis, that we're all behind her and supporting her. And that also brings awareness to, something that, can really change lives in many different ways.
That's awesome. I think one of the things too, I know a lot of people have talked about it in the healthcare industry, is right now everybody's so focused on COVID, as we should be, but you have to still remember to do your yearly checkup, do some of those other things, and not let those go by the wayside, because they're still important. Because like you said, it doesn't matter how old you are, you might catch something, and you'd rather, you want to keep up on that sort of stuff as you can. Talk about you're going to be part of an admissions Q&A here at the school.
Yes. Yep. Coming up on just October 19th, there's going to be a Q&A at 7:00 at night. We're on with football and volleyball, so it'll be a wide array of sports. But a coach's Q&A, I know Pam Haru over in admissions has been coordinating it. We're inviting, anybody that's a prospective student athlete that wants to learn more about our program, at different stages with a lot of, prospective players, some that we've been talking to for months. Others that are maybe just deciding, hey, I want to try to play in college, what do I need to do? So I would encourage those that haven't had the conversation with me to hop on that and learn about our program. Also on October 18th is the admissions virtual open house, and Eliza Timms, one of our juniors, will be featured on the athletics panel. So I always think it's great for prospective recruits to hear from our student athletes. And obviously right now we can't do official visits and have too much interaction on campus, these virtual options are a great way to, learn what it's like to be a field hockey, student athlete here at Salve, and, all the things that go along with it. So between the 18th and 19th, we got some virtual options coming up for prospective students, and hope people will tune in and, be able to have questions answered during that time.
Cool. My last question for you, Jen, I asked this to Rob.
Yes.
I think it might be something that I'm going to ask every guest or guests here today. What is the most extreme weather you've ever coached in and played in?
Oh, geez, gosh, you're getting me between my lacrosse coaching years and field hockey coaching years. We actually had a pretty tough game last year up at UNE to end the season. It was like a nor'easter, raining, windy, everything kind of going on at the same time. But when I coached lacrosse, there was games full in snow. We played a snow game up at Rick, I remember, that was literally the field had to be shoveled off in between plays because it was getting covered in snow. But as a player, I don't really remember too many crazy games. I don't know why. Maybe you just play through it as a player, and as a coach, you realize it more. But fall weather in New England can be really tricky, especially when you get into October, early November. So, the rain and the wind, and some snow when I was coaching lacrosse for those 8 years, definitely all played a role.
I was gonna say, and you're at God A for all of those as a
Yes.
coach, so
Yes.
though it's almost, you
Very-
almost become numb to the wind being a
Yes.
factor there, quite literally.
Yes. Very windy over there.
All right, Jen, thank you so much for joining us here today.
Great.
Wonderful to hear about the causes that you guys are being a part of. That's great to see you guys
Great.
doing
Thank
that stuff. Well, you can't play, but still making an impact.
Yes. Great. Thanks, Andrew.
All right, thank you. That's Jen Foster, the head coach of our field hockey team here at Salve Regina. We're going to go now to the head coach of our women's soccer team, Jane Walsh. Jane, how you doing here today?
Good. How you doing, Andrew?
Good. Haven't talked to you in a bit. It's been great. Talk to some of your players, your captains, some assistant coaches who are coming down the line. Love to get your impressions now that you guys have started. You kind of get out in the field, get some things going. Let's talk about first about your captains, what you've liked from what you've seen out of them, and how much you're going to have to lean on them here in this fall season.
Right. Our three captains, I don't think we could have put together a better trio than what we have, because they all just bring such different personalities and leadership styles to the program and to the title of being captain. So, this year is a trailblazing year up and down the board. Every day at practice is there's something new for me as coach and for the players. We're just entering into phase 2. So we're having to kind of adjust and see what works and see what doesn't work. And so to be able to have, personalities within our leadership that are A, so diverse, but B, so adaptable, has been so helpful, and we meet weekly just to kind of chat and talk about how practices are going, how the team is doing, and they are so forthcoming with information and sometimes suggestions as well. So they've been very helpful up until this point.
Now, how much is that reliance going to extend to your assistant coaches? You have the potting thing, and you're going to need an extra set of eyes. How much are you going to lean on your new assistant coaches as well?
Yeah, so much. Courtney and Morgan have been absolutely fantastic so far. What I knew I was going to need the most this year is just support, up and down the board, whether it's just physically having another body there to help me drop cones or pick up cones or whatever, all the way up to actually coaching and implementing and helping teach the sport of soccer. And they have been, 100% the entire way, just at everything, giving us everything that they have. And it's just so helpful to know, that I've got another mind there with me every single day, whether it's one of them or both of them. And usually it's both of them, to kind of bounce some ideas off of. And they're very supportive of me as well. And so I certainly appreciate them just being a part of the program.
How much does it help you having that a fresh set of eyes from people who were players for you, recent players, so they have a connection to the current team that you don't necessarily get to have as being their coach, and how much that can help you help them help you, so to speak?
Yeah, no, it's great. I think that they just have this layer of relatability to current players that I unfortunately have grown out of. And it's crazy to think,
isn't it, for all of us?
Right. When I first started coaching, that's actually, that's the perspective that I came from, was the relatability aspect. And certainly, there are still things that I can relate to them on, but it's so much more helpful now having some younger people who were not only closer to their age, but also who went to Salve, alumni of the school, who've been through the program, who've had me as their coach before, and understand expectations and standards, and really just like the recent history of the program. And like, for example, Morgan is working with our goalkeepers, and in some conversations with Jenna, Georgia, and they just love Morgan. And, they say she's got this way of kind of relating to them and still pushing them without making them feel like, they're just dying. And they really are appreciating, the level of investment and insight that she brings to her job. And the same with Courtney. She's really able to connect with the student athletes in a way that, I have a harder time doing.
Yeah. what has been the biggest thing, you feel maybe you've learned or maybe how you've changed as a coach coming in, as you said, you know, uh, somebody who could really relate to, hey, I was just in your shoes not too long ago to where you are now. What have you learned? How have you changed as a coach in that time?
Don't let your emotions get the best of you. By far, that is the one thing that I've learned over the years. Being involved in athletics, being a coach, being a player, playing the sport that you love. I mean, you have to have a passion first, and that's an emotional thing. And so when things are really, really good, it's easy to get on that high and stay on that high. But then, you come crashing down as soon as something, bad happens, and that can be hard, the roller coaster of it all. And so it's easy to react, as soon as you feel some layer of emotion. So what I've learned and what I wish I knew when I was younger was to just take a moment, just pause and stop for a second and process, what you're thinking and what you're feeling before you respond. And oftentimes I've just found that conversations are so much more productive. I feel much better about the choices that I make. And I think the team benefits a lot more at the end of the day.
Is it safe to say this could be your most challenging year as a head coach? And in a way, does that excite you as a competitor?
Yeah. In a lot of ways, it's interesting because, when you're in the thick of it and you've got, 2 games a week and you're trying to solve problems and find ways to win games and, help players, find their potential and deal with, the normal, drama of being a part of a team. That feels really challenging. But this requires a certain level of creativity that, I don't necessarily need to have, when it's a normal traditional season, because I can just call back on things that I know have worked before. And now with, not knowing what works, or discovering what works every single day, it definitely requires a little bit more creativity. So I'm actually enjoying, being innovative, and kind of testing out new things that, works well for the team.
I asked Jen this question. I'll ask it to you too. What have been the resources for you for that creativity to get those ideas and inspiration for how to run practice, how to make things work and all of that, even team building stuff?
Right. So first of all, just as far as like operations are concerned, I attended a coaching educational course at the beginning of this year in January down in Florida. And I learned so much through that course, not just about the game of soccer, but also how to coach, and how to bring people together. And I made some really great connections and with other people and did some really awesome networking and just found this community of, soccer people that want to teach the game. And though a few things that I carried away from that, are these, I created like a team app essentially, which has access to a bunch of different things that the players need on a daily basis. So for an example, they have a morning check-in that they fill out every morning. It's a Google form, but they can access it through this team app that I've created. And they fill it out every morning, tell me, how many hours of sleep they've had, what's concerning them right now, and any physical concerns they might have. So that's been, really a good resource for me to try to, get a little bit more creative and make things a lot easier for the team to communicate with me, to see where they're at, especially during this crazy time. But then outside of, those types of organizational, administrative type things, honestly, Courtney and Morgan have really helped me with, just making things more fun, more enjoyable. It's a lot, a coach has, there's always something every single day, something that you have to devote your attention to. So to be able to kind of put some responsibility on them for other, little team things that need to get done has been really good. So they created this team scavenger hunt for us last weekend, which was so much fun. The team did some team bonding together, and that was all Courtney and Morgan. And it was nice to, know that was going on and to help facilitate, but really like put the responsibility on them and just kind of, use my assistants as my resources as well.
Awesome. Last question is kind of, it's developed into our question of the day here.
Yeah.
What is the most extreme weather you've ever played or coached in?
Well, this is an easy question, and I've told this story before, and you know it. When I was in college, my junior year, we were at Western Connecticut University in in Connecticut, and it was the last game of the season. In fact, I'm pretty sure it was Halloween. It might have been Halloween, and there was just a ton of snow that year. Like, it started snowing when the game before the whistle even blew. So we ended up playing in like almost 6 inches of snow. Couldn't actually play a full 90 minutes, but we're able to play 75 minutes, which at the time that was the minimum, amount of the game that you had to play in order for it to count. We ended up winning 2-0, which was great, which meant that we were the number 1 seed in the conference. We went undefeated in conference on the season, and it was just wild. I have some great pictures from that game. One really good one of me that I just kind of hang on to, and I actually have it up in my office, and that's probably the one game that will always stick out. But when it comes to weather, I really don't know how you top that. 6 inches of snow. I mean, it's kind of hard to play soccer.
It doesn't often happen in your sport. I was going to ask though, a close second, and maybe for one you've coached in, Morgan and Courtney's senior day in the rain. Right. How does that rank?
Yeah, no, that's got to be pretty close to number 2, if not definitely number 2. It's different for coach. Like, if it's raining, if it's wet, it's wet. And you're sitting there and you're soaked no matter what. But watching the players come off the field, or even just trying to play, that definitely came pretty close. So I wasn't quite experiencing the mud as much as as the players were, but it definitely was. It was definitely interesting to watch. So that's got to be at least number 2.
I think you did come out of that game a little banged up, though, correct?
Yeah, yeah, I got a little excited at the end of the game there when Abby scored her back-to-back goals in 2 minutes, and tried to go kind of jump up, and the mud prevented me from doing that well, and so my hamstring, cramped up a little bit. So that was so I guess it did affect me,
Jane, great to see you. Thank you for coming on here today, and look forward to talking to you again next week.
Thank you. You too.
All right, that's Jane Walsh, the head coach of our women's soccer team. We're going to turn now to some alumni from our men's soccer team. Welcome to the show, Owen Kraft, Evan MacDonald, and Noah Medeiros. Fellas, how are we doing?
How's it going?
Good. I guess the general first question is, what have you been up to for each of you? Maybe just quickly tell us about, what you guys have been doing. Alumni now. That must be kind of crazy.
So I'm back home. I'm up in New Hampshire. Just working an overnight job at the moment, just kind of grinding through it. Not a long-term job in the slightest, but just kind of working and waiting for the next job.
Yeah, me and Noah both up here, up in Newport, getting our masters. I'm getting an MS in Innovation and Strategic Management. We're both working down at a Midtown Oyster Bar as food runners as well. Paying rent and tuition, not so fun.
The real world.
Yeah, not as fun as everybody says it's gonna be.
Nope.
No, I believe you're helping out with the team as well, right?
Yeah, so we got practice at 4. So after this, I'm gonna boogie over to Lawrence, and we're playing darts today. So it's been yesterday was our first practice. We played 5v5 for the first time for 5 minutes, like in the strict guidelines that we were given. But first time we saw the guys kind of go live, and it was pretty awesome yesterday.
Talk about the COVID impact of everything. I mean, obviously you guys had. You guys didn't have any seasons taken away, but you had the end of your senior year, halted. And, what has it been like going through kind of the emotions of all of that, going like, oh, we're going on spring break. Well, no, we're going home. Well, oh, there's a worldwide pandemic. And then, oh, yeah, also we have to go into the real world now, too.
Yeah, it's been difficult. It definitely wasn't what we expected to, our paths to be. We're just making it work and kind of taking it in stride and doing the best we can with what we got, As cliche as that is, I guess.
I mean, everybody's kind of in the same boat, so I guess everybody's kind of learning as it goes. And it's not all new to everybody, so nobody really knows how to handle and stuff. But I feel like everybody's going with it, going with the flow. You know? Every week it's a new thing.
Yeah, we were kind of lucky at the beginning of it. Although we got our senior year taken away at the end there, the three of us lived together last year. We were pretty fortunate to have a house right on the ocean, and we had a nice little backyard and a porch. So we, and at the beginning when no one really knew what was going on with this pandemic and everyone was isolated, we were isolated together, hanging out, looking at the ocean every day. So it wasn't terrible.
Evan, are you jealous of these guys back in Newport?
Yeah, you could say that. You could say that.
What is it going to be like now to be, alumni? The alumni base for your team is very strong. I've been for those. The alumni game is usually the coach's little barometer at the beginning of each season, that sort of thing. I know you guys. It's a strong base, almost a family there. How much did you guys appreciate or welcome, say, insights and input from alumni when you were players, and how much do you feel like you'll still try to be involved, now that you're not playing anymore?
Well, for me, because I'm not down in Newport hanging out with them or seeing them at all, but we still text and we'll Snapchat from time to time. I was just texting Casey Kelly and Guerra and some of the seniors the other day. Still talking to Noah and Owen every day, obviously. But as an alumni, I was pretty excited to come down and be watching the games this fall. It was always cool as a junior and a senior when you're playing, and then you look over to the sideline, you see some of your past teammates who are now alumni, and they're there watching you. So I was kind of ready to play that role. And then they were supposed to play New England College up here in New Hampshire this year, and my parents and coach had organized the team and the bus coming here to my house after the game, where we would have had food and hung out with the team and whatever. So I guess that's our alumni and our parents too, because we're always having food after home games. So it's a different role to play now, but I still try and be involved and pay attention to what's going on. Still talking to coach and all that stuff.
Yeah. So also with the alumni, obviously the alumni are huge support and stuff like that. And actually one of the coolest things and one of the biggest things I'm looking forward to is being on the sidelines and supporting the team and stuff like that. But at our conference championship game, one of the coolest feelings was when we were on the field and all of our buddies came in from one entrance at Topa, and then all the alumni came in from the other entrance and just flooded the crowd. It was such a crazy feeling, just having a tremendous amount of support, and that's what we're gonna be doing, obviously too, supporting the boys and making sure that they're winning and everybody's in good spirits and team is happy, coach is happy, everybody's happy, winning games.
You mentioned coach there. Coach is happy. You guys are probably happy too if he's happy. What is it going to be like now? The difference of that everybody has a special relationship with Craig, but now being able to be alumni and how that relationship might be different.
Well, as you go through the ranks, I guess from freshman year to senior year, he just treats you differently as you go, and it's kind of a cool process to go through it. And then as you get to an alumni, it's
gaining his respect, honestly.
Yeah, I don't know, become a grown man, I guess. You pass his training maybe per se. But we got such a brotherhood here, and coach is awesome. So yeah, when coach is happy, we're happy. That's for sure.
Yeah, and he's got nothing not to be happy about.
Yeah, I talk to him not too often. Just when Newcastle wins or Arsenal loses is really what it comes down to nowadays for me.
You mentioned that. Are any of you guys Liverpool fans?
No, Liverpool stinks.
I was gonna rag you guys on that Aston Villa game, but luckily, you guys don't get raked over the coals for that one. Here today.
Newcastle won that day, if anyone cared.
What are your guys' expectations? Noah, you're coaching with the team, so you maybe have a little bit more of a beat on this, but your expectations for this team so far, and hopefully getting to play in the spring, what this team could be if they get to actually compete.
Well, yeah, the guys, they looked good in their first. Like I said, they played 5v5 yesterday for the first time. They looked good. There's still obviously so much work to do. That was their first session where we're actually playing and having some sort of contact. The expectation is to win it all, but we got to start. We're starting from the ground level right now. We're like I said, first time even having contact. So we're building from the ground, but expectation is win, always win. So we'll see. We got a lot to do though.
Yeah, I would just say, like, obviously the expectation is high on like winning the championship, and like I obviously want them to do that and stuff, but I think they just have to like be patient and like understand what's going on and not put too much pressure on themselves game in and game out, especially with, from what I've understood from the spring season coming up with only 10 conference games, and then it's not the normal playoff setup that we're used to, where the top 7 or the top 8 teams make it. And even as an 8 seed, although you would probably have the hardest path to go through the 1 and then the 4 and the 5, and then whoever's on the other side, you still have a chance. Whereas this year, from what I've understood, it's just ladder matches. So from the 10 conference games, the 1 and the 2 seed from those play in the championship. So it's like there's going to be a lot of pressure in those games to begin with, because every team wants to take out Salve. But then there's even more pressure that like one tie or one bad loss could really like put you out of the championship with not the normal playoff setup. So I just think they got to be patient, understand. They got great leaders, like I said, in Casey and Guerra, who have a lot of experience and are pretty intelligent themselves, and Richie Ventura, Hilby, Davies, the list goes on and on. But I think they just have to be patient and like be ready for everyone's best game.
My last question, which has kind of been like the question of the day here, what's the most extreme weather you guys have ever played in? It could go all the way back to like a middle school game in a blizzard, but what's the most extreme weather you guys have ever played in?
I definitely played in a full-on snowball up here. It was either in New Hampshire or Maine when I was like 12 years old, so I don't know if that really counts. Our last practice as Salve men's soccer players, though, on Topa was right before we went to Virginia for the NCAA tournament last year. It definitely snowed that day, so that was kind of cool. Not the most extreme, but that was cool.
What was the question? We didn't hear it.
Yeah, sorry, you kind of cut out on our end.
Oh, what's the most extreme weather you guys have ever played in? You know, you could go back to being, I figured Evan would probably have it, middle school blizzard game, but what's the most extreme weather you guys have ever played in?
Back in high school, I played in like a torrential downpour game. I mean, it only started thundering and lightning in the last like 30 seconds of the game, so like they kind of played out the last 30 seconds, but like it wasn't too bad. I mean, you couldn't really see across the other side of the field because it was just raining so hard. But other than that, I mean, I played in snow and stuff, but that's not too bad either.
Yeah, I've played in like crazy conditions too, but to like related to Salve, I guess, in Newport is when we played at Gaudet. We've had some crazy practices and games, and we kind of notoriously call it the windiest place on earth. Obviously, kind of joking, but we've had some intense wind games there, so that's for sure.
Cool. Hey, fellas, thanks so much for coming and joining us here today. Hopefully the team is playing this spring, and Evan, hopefully you can make it out of New Hampshire to come on down and see it.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, fellas, thank you so much. We'll catch you again soon. That is Owen Kraft, Evan MacDonald, and Noah Medeiros joining us here on the Seahawk Talk program. We're going to take a very quick break and be back with the producers to wrap this one up.
So you want to be a Seahawk? Let's make sure you wash your hands, keep your distance, wear your mask, and love your Seahawks.
Sammy, no mask?
Come on, Sammy. I know it's pumpkin spice season, but you can't bring drinks to class.
We have simple rules here, Sammy. Get out. Come back when you can follow them.
You gotta take care of yourself and others, even if you are Sammy the Seahawk.
All right, welcome back to Seahawk Talk. I'm your host, Andrew Pizzelli. Want to bring in the producers now to help close out today's program, Joey Morelli and Mike DeFusco. Fellas, I always like to just get your thoughts right off the bat on what you thought of our program here today and our guests.
I'm pretty sure me and Joey will probably have the same one because it really was just a great thing that I think Coach Foster brought up about the Pledge 100. Just a great cause to bring awareness to now with it's October, so breast cancer awareness. That was something I wasn't familiar with, but as you see, we had Lex Strong, Greg Kane, so just bring some more attention to that. I think would be a great thing. I really want to go back and just clip that because I think that's a great thing we could get going on social media as well.
Yeah, absolutely. The exact same thing. I thought that was a really good thing to bring up, and I'm glad she did. And I think it's a really cool idea too. Do 100 miles. That's a lot. And that's always cool. When people dedicate something I don't know if that's difficult. As someone who doesn't run or do any of that, I don't know if 100 miles in a month is normal, but still it's a big number.
You'd be surprised, because I have the Fitbit, so I get to track my steps. I get to know, it goes both ways. I get to know how active I've been. I also get to know exactly how lazy I've been on any particular day. But you'd be surprised just a normal day, especially on a college campus, walking to class and walking around a building and walking around an apartment or a dorm room, how much you actually do move. I don't know if 100 miles in a month would be above average. I guess add that to the list of the things we say we'll get back to people on, and we'll find out. Joey, any other things you want to close out today's program with? I know you always have the fun news.
I do. I did just look. I typed in how many months or how many miles do you walk in a month, and it said 70 roughly. I don't know how accurate that is because I didn't look too hard, but it's something. But yeah,
verified quick Google search.
Yeah, my verified quick Google search. We looked earlier and we were looking for news, and we found something about Newport Patch. It was trending for some reason, and it was because they posted this article about Roger Williams Park Zoo had the first flamingo born there in 22 years, which I don't know why. They don't get into the specifics of did they not have flamingos that were young enough or what happened, but everyone loves cute animals, so everyone was super hyped about this baby flamingo, and they have a little video on here. And what I thought was kind of cool on here is I knew flamingos get the pink from the shrimp they eat, so obviously he's white, but apparently their beaks don't curve until later. I don't know why, but they're he looks like a duck because he has a straight beak, and I don't know why. It doesn't say why. It's very short. People just want to see the cute animal. So no one really cares about the. They're cute animal. That's what I want. That's the content they want to see. And it got 40,000 shares. So clearly,
you mentioned it there, Joey. I didn't. I was about to say that doesn't look like a pink flamingo. So how is it that they get the pink coloring?
I don't know the science behind it. I'm sure I used to know when I was little, but I remember it was they eat the shrimp, that's what they eat, and for whatever reason that makes them pink.
So what happens if you feed a flamingo candy corn?
It's orange, maybe. Yeah, I don't know I don't know if it's the kind of shrimp they eat or if it's because they eat shrimp. And shrimp are pink, even though shrimp are kind of reddish. I don't know. I don't know the science behind it, but
we're getting some confirmation that it might be. I think you're right, Joe. I think it's because of the shrimp.
I know it has to do with the shrimp, but I don't know exactly what about the shrimp.
Interesting. You learn something new every day here on Seahawk Talk. At least that's one of our goals, is to learn
educational.
Tomorrow, perhaps we'll find it out. We'll give you an answer.
I'll give you
later. We'll get back to you on that.
Yeah, we're gonna confirm that.
Fellas, great work as always, and look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow.
See you guys tomorrow.
See ya.
All right, that is Mike DeFusco and Joey Morelli once again for our guests here today. we had Rob McGuinness, Jen Foster, Jane Walsh, Owen Kraft, Evan MacDonald, and Noah Medeiros. Big special thanks to them for joining us here on the program. We're live every day, 3 to 4 p.m. on the Salve Athletics Network. That's on Facebook Live, YouTube, and Periscope through Twitter. You can go back and catch all of those past shows on those platforms. Or if you want Seahawk Talk on the go, you can subscribe to the Seahawk Talk podcast through Sounder FM or your favorite podcasting platform. Just search for Seahawk Talk, hit subscribe, and you'll never miss a show. So, once again, thank you for joining us here today, folks. We'll be live again tomorrow at 3 p.m. here on the Salve Athletics Network. I'm Andrew Pizzelli. Have a good afternoon, everybody.